So you want a sourdough loaf of bread that looks like this without the babysitting? Come and bake with me. Flour and water is all you need, folks, to feed your starter. So if you haven't done that, get to it. I like to feed mine a 1:1:1 ratio of flour, water, and sourdough starter. This one has been recently fed. I've got plenty to use, so I don't need to feed it again. Next, I'm going to get my scale, turn it on, and make sure it's set to grams. All right, grab yourself a large bowl. I love my KitchenAid mixing bowl. You're going to set it on and tar it again. Giving my starter a quick little stir just in case there was a little hooch on top. You never, ever, ever want to throw away the hooch. Just stir it in. For this recipe, I'm using 113 grams of starter. You know the drill, tar again. Next ingredient, water. I'm going to add 340 grams of water. Now make sure it's filtered, not chlorinated. You don't have a Danish whisk? Get one. I assure you it's the best tool ever. So give this baby a stir. For this recipe, you can use flour or bread flour. I'm using bread flour. So I've got my bread flour. I'm going to measure out 567 grams because that is what the recipe calls for. Remember, being exact with the measurements is super important. So take a little bit out and 568, that's good enough. Shh, don't tell anybody. Here I've pre-measured 16 grams of salt and boing, add that in. So next, I use my handy dandy Danish whisk. Try that 3 times. Anyway, I use that as much as possible to just scrape up all the little bits, and I really don't like it on my fingers. So anyways, use my hand the rest of the way. Take out all those little bits out of the bottom of the bowl. You want to make sure that you incorporate every single piece of flour that is in the bowl. You can do it. Keep going. It should only take about a minute or so to come together. Next step, bulk fermentation, and I use my Cambro for fermenting my dough. So I'll take my whole entire dough ball, I will put it into my Cambro container, and I push all the way down. Now this helps me to see the visual for my bulk fermentation. Remember, we are looking for it to double, usually 24 hours. See you tomorrow, pretty girl. As you can see, my baby girl doubled. Time to shape. Take some white rice flour, sprinkle it on your counter. Take your dough, pop it right on the counter, and then get some more white rice flour on your hands. You're going to take in all the ends and pick them up, pinch them together, and turn the whole thing over. Now time to shape. So you're going to use a motion of a tuck, pull, quarter turn with the friction of the counter to kind of help you create some tension on the surface. This process should only take about roughly a minute or so. I've speeded up the process. You're going to dust your linen cloth banneton, set your dough inside, sprinkle a little bit more flour, and in the fridge she goes for a day. Next step, take a razor blade and go ahead and give it a good slice across the top. I just kind of cut into the dough a little just to make sure it doesn't burst open in the oven. Next, I spritz on some water to give it some extra moisture as it steams up in my Dutch oven. I put her into the oven. I bake it at 425 for 30 minutes. Trust me, it works. Next, I'm going to take off the lid and then bake for another 15 minutes without the lid. See you later. There she is. Look at that beauty. All right, so here is my beautiful loaf of bread. I'm going to cut it so you can see what the inside looks like. Now remember, the prep on this is not your traditional slap and fold and babysit and autolyse and all that stuff. This is a very simple way of doing sourdough bread. Now I wish I was the owner of this recipe. I'm not. However, the owner of the recipe, his name is Ben Starr. You can find him on YouTube. Check him out. He's got so many awesome recipes. That's all, folks. Who wants some bread?